What's good, Detroit Sports Nation? I am Eric Vincent, your host here at the DSN News Desk. Thank you for being here. We appreciate your time and support as we finally got the results in last night for the NFL Pro Bowl. The updated starters, the tallied up votes have finally been all counted up, and the starters have been announced in the NFL, the NFC, and the AFC. The Detroit Lions have one starter representing the NFC, and they have 9 alternates for the NFC Pro Bowl. We got to talk about this because I think this is huge for a few different reasons. I feel like there are a lot of different angles to tackle with this story, with this resulting, and I think the Lions need to be paying attention to it. First of all, let's give due credit to Frank Ragnow. He's the one Lion who was named as an NFC starter at the center position. He and Jason Kelce from the Philadelphia Eagles will represent the starting two centers for the NFC for the Pro Bowl with the Pro Bowl games. And that's well-deserved. He's validating strongly the contract extension he was given last season. He's clearly established himself as one of the best centers in football. He's been very versatile among the offensive line, very good in terms of leadership, communication. Ragnow's dealt with some injuries as well, especially with the guards around him. He's been injured, and then the 2 guards around him have shuffled around a lot as well. So he's had a lot of responsibility on his plate and still has been one of the most productive centers in all of football for one of the best offensive lines in all of football. And to me, that's the most important part, and that's probably the biggest problem I have with this whole thing. Because while I understand some of the honors that were given for some of the players and for some of the teams that are representing for these players, I can't sit up here and say that I'm understanding of all of it. And I really hope the Detroit Lions are using this as the Detroit versus everybody rallying cry right now. You got 3 games left in the season. Dan Campbell is the coach that preaches about disrespect and how you're going to keep fighting and you're going to be, with one and as one against the world. That's Detroit versus everybody to a T. And these Pro Bowl results, I think, should serve as their rallying cry for motivation to close out these final 3 games. Because they have some arguments here. First, let's get through the alternates. 9 different players, different positions as well. First alternate for wide receiver, Amon-Ra St. Brown. The first alternate for tackle, the NFC, Penei Sewell. Third alternate quarterback, Jared Goff. Fourth alternate for the guard, Jonah Jackson. Fourth alternate running back, Jamal Williams. Fourth alternate fullback, Jason Kabinda. Fourth alternate at the punt return position, Khalif Raymond. The fifth alternate at tackle, Taylor Decker, and the final alternate for the 5th team, Aiden Hutchinson, the rookie at defensive end. Now, some of these guys should take this and feel very, very encouraged with where they're going in their career and what this means for them. I feel like it shouldn't come off as a slight for an Aiden Hutchinson. Like, this is a very good step for him in his first season as the number 2 overall pick for this team. He should look at that as something to pat himself on the back about. Khalif Raymond as well, Jonah Jackson, even Jared Goff, who, to an extent, I think maybe could have an argument of being higher in this voting process, but from where his expectations were and for how he has performed this season, I think he should pat himself on the back as well. I think he should be extremely happy with the results. Now let's get to the people who should be very, very upset. Outside of just the fan base, who else should be upset about this? Let's start with Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's being disrespected. He's being tremendously disrespected amongst NFC receivers at this point. Amon-Ra St. Brown is being tremendously disrespected among NFC wide receivers at this point, and even in the NFL too. I'm very shocked at how these results have turned out for him. Amon-Ra's been balling, even with missing a little bit of time with concussions, and I think he had a shoulder injury, if I'm not mistaken, earlier in the year. He still has 89 catches, which is 6th in the NFL and 2nd amongst receivers in the NFC. 974 yards, 10th in the NFL, 5th among wide receivers in the NFC, and then 6 touchdowns to go on the season. And that's tied at number 15 in the NFL with 6 other wide receivers or tight ends at that position. Amon-Ra St. Brown got robbed because the guys ahead of him do not deserve to be in front of him. I feel like the NFL has got a weird fetish that they're establishing with the NFC East this year, and I'm totally turned off by it. The receivers ahead of him, Justin Jefferson, no problem with that. A.J. Brown, no problem with that. He's been fantastic for Philly. Philly had dominated a lot of the Pro Bowl voting in the NFC. The last two names I am not okay with at all being in front of Amon-Ra St. Brown. You can't convince me that CeeDee Lamb or Terry McLaurin have been better than Amon-Ra St. Brown. You can't convince me. You absolutely cannot. CeeDee Lamb, 81 catches at 1,000 yards, just over, with 6 touchdowns as well. He's been good, but also has dealt with a number of drops and hasn't really been the most consistent receiver. Having a breakout season from what he's done throughout his career, but I still don't think he's been better than Amon-Ra St. Brown. Consistently, I don't believe it. Terry McLaurin, I believe, is the exact same way. A very good receiver. I love the way he plays. I love how consistent he has been through his career with the Commanders and with Washington. But in terms of his play this season, I'm having a hard time understanding his argument for being better than Amon-Ra St. Brown. I'm trying to find his stat because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he's behind on just about everything that Amon-Ra has done. I'm very confused by his positioning. You know, everybody saw the video on social media where the coach was explaining to him, "Oh, you're a Pro Bowl," and he always cried all day. I don't want to hear any of that, bro. I don't want to hear any of that. Look, he's got 1,000 yards, 1,015 yards. That's fantastic. Outside of that, I think he's been very overrated. 68 catches, 3 touchdowns. 68 catches and 3 touchdowns. Amon-Ra St. Brown is top 5, 10, or 15 in every major stat for wide receivers. He's also one of the best blocking receivers, one of the best route runners, one of the most proven, I think, 1 or 2, however you want to look at him, as a number 1 or number 2. He's establishing himself as one of the best, most versatile receivers in the NFL. And again, he has the stats to prove it. He's top 5, top 10, or top 15 at worst in every major statistical category for wide receiver in the NFL. He absolutely should be writing this in his locker. He absolutely should be serving this as high motivation. We already know he loves playing with a chip on his shoulder. What we saw with him coming in at the draft, remembering every receiver who was drafted ahead of him. He loves playing with a chip on his shoulder, and this should absolutely serve as another one for him. Amon-Ra St. Brown is one of the best wide receivers in the NFL, and it's time people start respecting him and addressing him as such. Penei Sewell, you also should have a problem with this conversation. The Lions as a team should have a problem with this conversation. I heard Taylor Decker's comments as well. He wasn't, thrilled about what the results were, but, he's happy about how the fans supported him. He's happy with the love that he got in terms of the fan base voting. But, he's got the Detroit versus everybody mentality too. And Penei Sewell should absolutely have it as well. I feel like the Detroit Lions are being very disrespected in terms of what their offense has given this season. We knew coming in that the defense, being super inexperienced the way they were going to be the weaker link between the two. This offense, outside of a few games, really has lived up to the bill for what you've expected. You could argue they've surpassed it, honestly, with a limited Jared Goff, with injured weapons they've had to deal with injuries throughout the offensive line, a lot of penalties at the offensive guard positions, especially as of late. They've been able to overcome that and turn out the 5th team, or the 5th highest team in terms of scoring and yards. They've allowed only 19 sacks in the NFL. That is the league best. 19 sacks, the league lowest number of sacks allowed, which is tied with 3 teams, the Buccaneers and the Cowboys. Frank Ragnow absolutely makes sense for him being in that position. And also another stat, real quick, Jamal Williams. We got to talk about what the offensive line has helped produce for the run game. The Lions' run game has been putrid for as far as we can remember since Barry Sanders, since we rolled through the Rolodex of Kevin Smith and Kevin Jones and Javid Best and Reggie Bush and all these hurt running backs that just cannot stay upright. You now have a formidable tandem with DeAndre Swift that's been working. Jamal Williams, who leads the NFL with 14 scoring touchdowns. And even when their role players come in, they get productive as well with their packages that they put together and how they block and scheme them into running lanes. The Lions have put together one of the best run games in football. How is it just Frank Ragnow that's representing the NFC in the Pro Bowl? Penei Sewell has to be a starter. Penei Sewell has to be a starter, man. I'm sorry. I would take Lane Johnson out. I would take the tackle from Tampa Bay out. You can't convince me that they've played better than Penei Sewell. Now, we obviously have had a closer eye to what they've done in terms of the protection that they've given for Jared Goff, the, suitability that they've given him to grow and thrive as a quarterback, and how the run game has been able to thrive as well. I believe, considering how good they've been playing on a consistent basis, they lead the league in no sacks allowed, or 19 sacks allowed. They've shown their dominance. They've shown their creativity. Penei Sewell has shown his ability to catch passes, go in motion, and be an athlete. Not just a blocker, but an athlete. He's shown to be one of the more versatile players in the NBA, or the NFL, excuse me. He's shown to be one of the more versatile players in the NFL, as we were just talking about with Amon-Ra St. Brown as a wide receiver. And I feel like he's being disrespected by being put as an alternate. He absolutely should be a starter at this point. That's my take on it, and I really, really hope the Lions are using this for their rallying cry. They're feeling good right now. They're riding high on this wave of winning the games that they've been winning, playing the fashion that they've been playing, but you gotta stay motivated. If there's anything, the best players of all time, and athletes and NFL players in general, they use anything to stay motivated. They use articles from the media. They'll use rankings and comparisons and tweets and whatever they can find to channel in that inner emotion. Dan Campbell has done an awesome job as a motivator and a head coach of keeping his team prepared week by week. This has to be the rallying cry for that. I'm certain he's in the locker room giving his best rah-rah speech right now for it. I believe in it. I believe he's doing it, and I believe it's going to serve to a very impressive game that the Lions have coming up against the Carolina Panthers. I do think they're going to win, and I think we're going to come out motivated to prove it based on what they've seen with this Pro Bowl ranking. Talk to me in the comments section, though. I'd love to hear your feedback on who you think may have been snubbed from the Lions, who you think shouldn't even be in the Pro Bowl in general. Talk to me about what your thoughts are on the Pro Bowl results. I'd love to hear from you. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel. Help us ramp up on our way to 6,000 subscribers as we get closer and closer every day. Thank you all so much for your support and helping us get up closer to that. Make sure you lock in our social media as well. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all of the above. Search and follow Detroit Sports Nation, and follow yours as well. Follow me. I am Eric Vincent, so I can stay tapped in with you. Thank you all so much for your support and for tuning in. I greatly appreciate it, and I'll see you again soon enough right here with another update from the DSN News Desk. Peace.